I love it.
Yeah. I'm like, at what point in time did it grab that?
Okay, can you still hear me?
I can. Can you hear me
Yes.
without an
Here we
echo?
are. Exciting.
Yay. Yeah.
Hey, everybody, welcome to this conversation with Megan LeCluse. She has written a new book, and we are finding lots of good ways to talk about it. You may have seen some conversations already on a Zoe Zoom or an Instagram short, but there is more to say. Megan's book is called You Are Not the Only One: Reflections on Faith, Doubt, Growing Up, and the College Experience. It's available at Whiffenstock Publishers, and we can share that link in the show notes. Here is a word about this book from your friend and ours, Brian McLaren. Many people experience college as the best 4 years of their life. Many experience college as the most challenging, even traumatic years. And more than a few experience it as a paradoxical mixture of both. If I could recommend one book for you or a college student you know and love, it would be Megan LeCluse's You're Not the Only One. Even after a few pages, you'll feel like Megan is exactly the kind of older sibling, down-to-earth mentor, and insightful companion you need to get more than your money's worth from your college tuition. From Brian McLaren, author of Faith After Doubt, and some new sci-fi also. Everybody check that out.
Yeah.
So Megan, thanks for joining us and for writing
Thanks
your
for
book.
having
And we
me.
want to hear more about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'll probably start with why I wrote it.
That'd be great.
And I wrote it largely because there were a number of times in college where I did feel like I was the only one. And that's Brian's quote starts with kind of where I start the book. When I was probably in my second semester, high school senior year, knew I would be going to University of Arizona. I had a lot of people who'd known me since I was young. We joined the church I grew up in when I was one or two. And like, that's the church I graduated high school from and went to college. And so these people who knew me, had seen me grow up, were like, these are going to be the best 4 years of your life. And so I went to college anxious and excited. It's a big transition and it was hard. And it was not the best time of my life. The first few weeks, months were, I was like, why do people think this is good?
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, it must be me. Like, I'm not a person who parties. So I went to a few parties and like, that was fine. But I'm an introvert. That's not my social scene. I was in marching band and that was good. But like, I was meeting some people. I was not finding best friends. It was fine, but I'm like, oh, this is not the best 4 years of my life. And so, yeah, for a long time, I thought I was doing it wrong. Later on, I started to meet people who became good friends. Most of them I met my sophomore or junior year. And a year is a long time. And so like by my senior year, even by like second half of sophomore year is when I would say like I started to love college. By senior year, maybe that was probably one of the best years of my life. And then I got into campus ministry and I started meeting a lot of other students who also had hard freshman years, or different times throughout college that were hard. And I was able to say to them, it's not you. Like, this is just a big transition. This is a hard transition. For some people, they click early on, and for some people, it takes time to find their people, their spot, their groove. And I wish someone had told me that I was not the only one my freshman year. So now I wrote a book to tell people they're not the only one. But that's not the whole content of the book at all. It looks at kind of a lot of different parts of the growing up experience, the college experience. Yeah, so I think it's something that's 18 to 22-year-olds will resonate, especially those in a traditional school setting. But I'm hoping it also will be something that young adults or other people will find things that resonate with them as well in these pages.
I've had moments in life where that simple phrase, um, "You're not the only one," was the thing that totally transformed an insurmountable challenge,
Mm-hmm.
into um, seeing a pathway forward. It's a powerful
Yeah,
statement to make. Well, let's start with those
yeah.
college students
I
that you were thinking about, and in connection to your own college experience, that first year experience, and making it all the way through to those great years that you mentioned. Um, what can college students know that they'll find in this book that you want to point them to?
Yeah, so the book is loosely organized in a journey through college order. Um, Loosely because everybody's life is different, things happen differently. Some students will transfer, some students will do different things in different orders. And it's
Mhm.
also written so that you could read it cover to cover, or you could pick it up and read a chapter. Um, I did write it with the intention that kind of each chapter can stand alone, and this could be a 4-year companion. And when you are trying to figure out how to make choices, you can go read the chapter about, like, how do I figure out what my values are. Um, when you are getting ready to study abroad, maybe you go read that chapter, or you can read the whole thing. But in each chapter, you'll find a couple of quotes at the beginning. Some of these are from books that I read in college. Some of them are quotes that I've heard along the way, just quotes that spoke to me. I tend to like quotes. Then there'll be a scripture passage, and then kind of a reflection, uh, maybe like a mini sermon, but written. They all tend to be, each chapter tends to be about 8 or 9 pages. So, like, not too long. Maybe sit down, grab a cup of tea or coffee or hot chocolate, and like read a chapter. And then after the reflection, there is a prayer. And then there are questions that could be used for journaling, reflection. And if you were to read it with some others, you could use them as small group discussion questions. Um, so each chapter will have that kind of to walk you through the chapter. So it does start off with that kind of transition, and what does it look like to figure out who you are and who you want to be and who you want to be around. Um, and that part of the book, I've also had people talk about how they do think for young adults in a transition to a new setting, a lot of those kind of conversations are very relevant. As you start to plant roots somewhere, figure out where you might want to get involved in your new community, you're asking yourself kind of the same questions. Um, Part of it too explores what does it mean to transition away from home. I fully am aware that home means very different things to different people. I was blessed to have a fantastic home life growing up. My family's close. It's my parents and me, and I have a sister who's 2.5 years younger. My sister and I still live together. Um, we didn't for a while, like after high school, but we have now for the last decade. Um, and so for me, I'd been in the same house since I was 1, and my family was tight. Um, for other people, they will be ready to get away from their childhood home, and
Yeah.
going to college. And I've worked with students where college finally lets them create a safe home. Um, so that is both kind of some of what's being looked at, is like, what does it look like to transition to a new space? And what does it look like to get to choose how to create and cultivate that place and those people? How do you develop a chosen family in this new space and all of that? And obviously, part of that in writing about a Christian perspective, is faith communities. Um, so, what does it look like? How might you find a community of faith to belong to? Be that a campus ministry, a church congregation, a mix of the two. Um, And how do you think about some of the things you might be looking for there?
As you're pulling
What?
from the biblical record, I can only imagine that these kind of heroes' journeys and wanderings and all these kind of moments where the people of God kind of are going out and having to find a new thing. Were you surprised?
Mm-hmm.
Did you find any stories that all of a sudden clicked for you as
Ooh.
instructive or inspirational for the college experience?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, hmm. I think some of the I'll have to think about if there's any that struck me like that. Some of the places that surprised me are where we lack texts.
Yeah.
Um, there is one chapter where I use proverbs. I Yeah, that is the one on learning to be true to yourself is what it's called, and that it's okay to have water in your red Solo cup. Um, so it's really on
I didn't know
values.
that was in the Bible.
I
That's great.
right. But it was interesting to kind of think about like the values that are passed on and taught down to us.
Hmm.
Like it's a concept that makes a lot of sense, and it's hard to think about kind of a scripture that explicitly talks about it. I think I maybe have the Shema elsewhere, Deuteronomy 6. I think it's 6. And not 5. That talks about teaching your children, passing down the faith.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, a lot of the scriptures are favorites of mine. Um, I think I'm like, is Jeremiah's call story in the vocation chapter? I know it's in here. Um, there's Do Not Worry, that is in here because that is a part
Mm.
of my own journey. And that's there's a few chapters on finding balance. What does it look like to kind of think about all of the aspects of our life, our mind, body, and soul, and how do we take care and foster well-being in a holistic way?
And especially
Um,
when this is your first moment in life where you are responsible for pursuing or making yourself available to those helpful practices. Presumably, your
mhm.
mom isn't taking you to church anymore once you're at college.
Presumably, yeah. And if you're in a situation where you're living at home,
Mhm.
hopefully your mom is giving you a choice if you go to college or if you go to church or not, if you're that
Yes.
old. Um, yeah, okay, Jeremiah is in What Should I Do with My Life? Vocation chapter.
Mm.
Um, the Do Not Say I Am Only a Boy. Um, which,
Yes.
yeah, people in scripture have a good amount of excuses. So that probably connects with college. Some of the stuff I've heard from college students can be like people in the Bible tried to get away with giving God excuses. That didn't work out so well.
Yeah, right.
God still called
Yeah,
them
that's interesting.
anyways.
Um, Sometimes we think about the experience of college as being kind of all external forces, you know? My
Mm-hmm.
where I live is different, the food is different, class is upscaled from high school, whatever, harder than high school.
Yeah.
Um, how does your book help people do some self-reflection? What am I bringing
Oh
into
yeah.
this moment?
I think the book asks you to do a lot of self-reflection.
Mhm.
Um, from that, the chapter about having your values, having water in the red Solo cup. I believe there is abundant grace from God and in life. And this is not a chapter telling students like don't have fun, don't drink, don't party, don't dance. Not that at all.
Mhm.
Um, it is encouraging that internal reflection before you find yourself in the decision moment. Um, so kind of that reflection on like what are my values? What kind of choices do I want to make? What kind of things do I want to think about that might involve a behavior I may engage in when I'm not sober. Like, what do I want to decide when I'm sober about how I will engage in that kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like some of the internal self-reflection. There's a chapter about doubt and just kind of, there's one about doubt and another about, do I want to call myself Christian?
Yeah.
And that involves kind of like our spiritual thinking about like, who am I as a person of faith? Each campus, Christianity is perceived probably a little bit differently, but I feel like I've not been on a Christian campus, so I don't know what the like vibes are there. I attended and then have worked at a secular campus, and non-Christians approach Christianity with a bit of skepticism. And part of my college experience that I talk about was the people in front of the library with the surveys. Who were from a different campus ministry. Yep. And like would be like, do you have a couple minutes to take this survey? And part of what I talk about is how they are taught to like administer the survey to students, but not, when I was in college, at least, they were not engaging in real conversation. And that is what people then associated Christianity on our campus with, is these people in front of the library with surveys. And I'm like, what if I was having a terrible day or a great day? And like, there's a missed opportunity for human connection, I felt like. And so like, okay, if I'm going to identify as Christian, how am I going to do that? What are people going to assume about me, and how might I challenge those assumptions? And that I would encourage people to have like that internal dialogue and reflection, or find some companions to talk about that with, as well as a kind of like, what do I believe and think? This hopefully will be a time when you'll have ideas get challenged. I ended up taking several classes in college where one, I think, is part of the class we talked about flood narratives.
Oh, right.
And then I ended up taking that and using it in a different class. Honestly, I don't know what I thought about. I don't think I believed when I went to college that the entire globe flooded exactly. But I didn't know what I thought. And like, I ended up really delving into flood theory and reading a book about like how they think the Black Sea probably did have a massive flood thousands of years ago.
Oh, I love it. You went the Neil deGrasse Tyson route, huh? You're like,
yeah.
Let's talk about floods.
Let's talk about floods. Yeah. No, that's, yeah. And like communities lived along the Black Sea, and then and that was their world in a like horse transport world. And most people probably couldn't afford to travel that far on horses or foot. And so I'm like, if you think your world as you know it has flooded, what stories come out of that?
Yeah.
But then when you start thinking about biblical stories in that way, what else starts to open and potentially change and shift? And so I do hope that in college you will have something push against some of your assumptions or beliefs, or even what you've been taught. And that you will be able to start doing that wrestling and internal work of figuring out what you believe in. More importantly, maybe why.
Yeah.
That's one of my own professors and mentors. The first day of class, so the class was Early Roots of Christianity, which looked at kind of a lot of stuff from the 400 years or so preceding Jesus. And that kind of was like the roots behind what we see flourishing there, or like in Jesus. So we looked at Hebrew scriptures, but we also looked at Egyptian mythology. We looked at some of the occultic practices happening in the area at the time. We looked at Greek philosophy. And the first day she said that she did not want to make us not believe. But she wanted us to be able to be questioned about why we believe what we believe and be able to answer. Which I felt like was just a really powerful mindset to come into the class with. Because what we were looking at and talking about and discussing was challenging. When you look at some of the other stories, mythologies, and things from that time period in culture, it does kind of make you sometimes wonder, like, why do I believe this is true? And to know that, like, her mindset wasn't like, I don't want you to come out of this saying, like, I don't think anything is worth believing in. But
Yeah,
I
I have
to...
been.
Go ahead.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. Sorry,
I was just going to say, like, that she wants you to be able to kind of withstand that, like, to be able to go to that difficult place, to do that work, and to come out with a faith that is ideally stronger.
I have connected with a number of young adults, particularly preachers' kids, who have gone off to college, and their understanding of what they need to do in this moment is to stop doing church, because it's been the family profession, they're growing up, right? So a kind of a cessation in order to maintain their sanity, or just to see the world a little differently. Your book is offering this kind of other invitation, right? So if we didn't just stop, which a lot of college students do, asking questions of faith, engaging in it, what blessings can we have in our life if we find new ways to explore that stuff, including the academic work that we do, right? Finding community that helps you to process things if you've only ever had a me and Jesus kind of perspective on your faith. And connecting that with kind of the overall, like, vocation that you might be called into. How do I bring this along with me in a new way and practice it in ways that still give me life? Even if the previous example of how I did faith was like, I went to church because my family did,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It is the time to kind of figure out, like, what can and does this mean to me? And yeah, like how, I think the vocation question is a part of it, and realizing, I feel like growing up, everybody's like, what do you want to be? Like, and realizing that vocation is much broader than that. That it's like, yes, your career is a part of it, but also who you are outside of your job, who you are as a friend and child and potential romantic partner and sibling, and all of that is part of, like, our vocation. And figuring out how will this faith shape who I am in kind of all of these areas of my life. So, like, I remember one former student who, and for a lot of college students, you've been a student your whole life. There is homework, there is extracurriculars, there's a lot to keep you busy from the time you can remember through when you're about 22. So he graduated college, and a few months later we were talking, he's like, Megan, I like work 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, and then, like, I have evenings free. Like, I have weekends. What is this? And yeah, I know, right? But figuring out, he's like, I think maybe I'll volunteer. So, like, that is, and I don't remember exactly what his first job was, but you may be going into a career you feel like doesn't feel like it is directly pursuing God. There are still a lot of ways we can talk about how you can follow God, and how you still might be doing that. But like, you might have evenings and weekends free. And thinking about, like, how might you choose to give back in other ways, like through that time. is also part of like the vocational discernment work you can be doing as you think about college and beyond, and beyond college especially.
Yeah, because the practices that you develop. I mean, I've also talked with young people who find themselves in that situation, and the openness of their. I mean, some people are overworked and they work 3 jobs. So
Yes.
we're
Oh,
not
yeah.
talking about you, but some people end up with this time, and there isn't a built-in. Maybe it's after they've been on a campus, right? There isn't this built-in like group of people that are always around, and it's like this space of loneliness. But if you've spent some time when you've been surrounded by community, figuring out how to pursue community and, the practices that give you meaning and assurance and, comfort, then you might be better prepared for any of those moments later in life that kind of are dictated by the epidemics of loneliness that we know in modern life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think as we talk about that, engaging with all of this during college will help you know what you might be looking for when you are after college and looking for a community, and looking for potentially a church community. I think we are in many ways, denominations still exist, but a lot of people change denominations a lot more these days. And so I think to know that like, oh, I want a church that like lets me ask questions, that I know is an affirming church of the LGBTQ plus community, that affirms all people being able to be a part of leadership. And like to be able to think through some of the like essentials of your faith and why they matter to your faith, can then help you, like, maybe you don't find a Methodist or a Presbyterian church right close to where you move, but to look for a church with the values that you have developed over this time in college and the things that you've realized, like, this matters to who I am as a Christian and as a disciple.
Yeah. Your book is designed to help young adults through this life. There are a couple of other audiences that we could imagine would benefit from engaging with your book because they work with young people. What is your encouragement for campus ministers, people working on staff, leadership in campus ministries, and also for parents of like graduating seniors? What should they know is available to them if they pick up a copy of your book?
Yeah. So for campus ministers, I think it could be used as a resource in a number of ways. It could be great to have a small group discussion. And again, maybe that's picking select chapters. Maybe it's even just summing up if undergrads are sometimes open to reading, sometimes not. Maybe there's a few chapters you've like build a retreat around or something. And say like just as a resource, if there is a student who seems like they could really use some reflection on something. I had a just graduating student reach out to me earlier this summer. And when we got on the phone, she was like, I just wanted to see how you're doing. It's like, well, thank you. But I don't think that's really what we're talking about. And then, it was the week, the airplane had crashed in India. The politicians had been shot in Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
And something else had happened. And she's like, so I've just been like, I've had the news on, and I'm just trying to make sense of how God fits into all of this. And I was like, that's a great question. And that is not just calling to ask how I'm doing. But we can talk about that.
Where is God?
Where is God? And there is a chapter called Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People? So we did have a conversation that day, but then I also like printed off that chapter and sent it to her as kind of a resource to have something else to read and think about. And then hopefully we can have a follow-up conversation. But so I could see campus ministers using it that way too. Like here, maybe like check out this chapter and then let's process together some of your thoughts as you continue to reflect on this question or thing you're thinking about.
Yeah, this
Um,
might be a time when your campus ministry professionals are working with people for whom the toughest parts about living through life, the toughest parts about questions about the presence of evil when there is an
yeah,
all good God,
yeah.
are first kind of coming to people have to wrestle with that now kind of on their
Mm-hmm.
own or personally.
Mm-hmm.
It's also not something that I ever remember being presented in like third or fourth grade Sunday school. you know,
Right.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so having
Exactly.
some,
And
yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say there also is a different chapter on mortality. Um,
Mm,
that uh sometimes it would be an entire campus ministry processing an experience of somebody's death, or it could be
yeah,
a student who has lost somebody not connected to the campus in their life.
yep.
Um, but I have found that for a number, not everybody, of young people, this is the time where you experience death of someone maybe close to you, but also recognize your own mortality.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a whole thing to process and wrestle with. Um,
Because
and
life and
can
death do
be a
not stop
freaky
outside of
experience.
campus, right?
Yep, yep. Um, and even when we've experienced sometimes the death of a grandparent, maybe even an aunt or uncle or somebody older, even a parent. I had one student. We don't always wrestle with, or that doesn't always make us feel like, oh, wait, I'm going to die at some point.
Mm.
Um, but then when we lose someone sometimes close to our age, it can trigger that. Um, and yeah, so there's a chapter just to kind of be like, what happens when we realize we're mortal and how do we wrestle with that?
Yeah,
Um, and we come from a tradition that reminds us of that every year on Ash Wednesday. So
that's
it
true.
is,
We've tried to find
yeah.
ways to have a blessed way to understand our own mortality, put it in the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
context of the broader
Yeah.
Christian narrative. Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
For parents, I think for parents, it could maybe help them to think about some of the things their child may be getting ready to go through or going through.
Hmm.
Um, and maybe that can help them think about how they could approach some conversations, or be open to talking to their child. Uh, if you have the right relationship, maybe you could read and discuss some of it together. Depends on how much your kid wants to talk about with you. um, can also just like have it as a resource for them. But I think also, like, I think mostly I would say, like, read it on your own, parent, if you want to read it, um, which I think can be good. And then I think just think about how you might ask some open ended questions that would let your college student or soon to be college student reflect on or talk about those topics. Um,
I also love the idea, and I want to hear back from the parent that successfully, secretly uses your conversation guide questions in their weekly phone call with their college student.
call with their kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. Um, but I think that, I mean, I think would be one of the big things. And hopefully a lot of parents already are good at this. But I think, and I try to throughout the book affirm, like, I am not trying to pass judgment. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that is a posture I would hope, I think is helpful for parents in working or in your relationship with your child, is to just approach it from a position of not passing judgment, um, but wanting to help them kind of either know that they have a place they can talk about things and that you will love them, and they are safe talking to you, and also hopefully safe asking questions. Um, and I think I'm now in my 14th year of camp, well, at Penn, 15th year of campus ministry. And I think one of the things I would say for parents is like, there's a lot that your kids need to like. It amazes me the stuff that students come to college with their parents just never having talked to them about, and like
Mm.
really basic life things. So like, yes, use the book and do the basic things, but also teach your kid how to budget. Um,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
like, um, how to do laundry, what bleaches, how to make frozen soup hot. Uh, all questions I've got. Yeah. No, you can't get bleach out of red shoes. Um, what is a credit card? What is a debit card? Like, just
Hmm.
in getting your child ready for college, think about a lot of the basic functions of being an adult. And I'm like laughing, but I'm also serious. Um,
Yeah.
like, what are some of the basic things you take for granted about life as an adult, and how can you help teach your 18-year-old? Ideally, teach them like 16 to 18, and even as they go into college. Um, but what is a tablespoon and what is a teaspoon? Um, like, yeah.
Some of those
Don't
things are the
forget,
building
like,
blocks of like being able to do like deep theological reflection. I think will be helped if you're not concerned about. I still don't know what a tablespoon or a teaspoon is.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, just get
And
rid of
with
those.
that, I read a book, the first year out. I think it's Tim Clydesdale that talks about the freshman experience.
Mhm.
Um, and it's part of, I think, what I experienced like as a freshman when it was a struggle. But yeah, don't expect your freshmen to be figuring out existential question answers. Like, your child as a freshman is trying to figure out how to survive. Um,
Uh-huh.
how to how to be a functioning person who does not have mom taking them to church anymore, or getting them out of bed at whatever time a.m. so that they can get to class. Um,
Yeah.
and I would love for, I mean, I love when students come at all, but like some freshmen, yes, will be thinking about and asking these questions. But I would also say as a parent, like, leave space and also let your student child come to you as they're ready. Um, so it might be their sophomore or their junior year when they start having that crisis about their major and what they're doing with their life. And you might be like, why didn't you do this earlier? And it's like, because they were figuring out how to
Yep.
function. Yeah.
Megan,
Um,
thanks for sharing a little bit more about your book. You're not the only one. It's out now, but we want to also be sure that people can know how to hear more from you, see your reading, get the book, get the poster to put up on their bulletin board at their campus ministry. What are ways that people can engage further with you and
what
with
are people
the book?
that Those are mostly in development, but it is available at Whiffenstock, and wherever you get books online, you should be able to find it. You can also reach me at meganlecluse@gmail.com. Um, and hopefully in the next few weeks, there will also be a website where I will have more of these resources available.
That's great. And we will be, I think we've already listed the book on the Zoe database of resources, but we'll make sure that as new links come for engaging with the book, people can find that as well. But
Yeah.
luckily, with WIPF, really, as soon as you put that in, Google knows what you want. So it's easy to find your book there. And
Yes, and being the only human with my name also helps. So if you search me, you will find whatever exists.
That's right. You will find it. Megan, thanks so much.
Yes.
Any closing words you want to leave people with?
I think, I mean, as you were kind of saying earlier, like, throughout life, these words can mean a lot.
Hmm.
I was sending a copy of the book to my cousin who had a baby at the end of July. And and I wrote to him and his wife, I was like, I assume for you guys, it's as new parents, you really want to be told you aren't the only one,
Yes.
as you have the realities of having a newborn. But that is my hope, is that whoever might be reading this book, be it a campus minister or a parent worried about your young person, or a student going through this on your own, that you might truly know that you aren't the only one, whatever challenge or joy you might find yourself in. And also that you are never alone. college can be a lonely time. Life can feel lonely. But we are each beloved children of God, and we are never alone. And there are other people somewhere going through the same thing. And so that is just what I want people to know in closing, is that you're truly not the only one, and that I hope this book can be a companion that helps you remember that.
Megan Lecluse, thanks so much. You're not the only one. Available now at Whiff and Stock Publishers. Get it now.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Megan.
Yeah,
and anybody watching, thank you for checking us out on the live stream. And we'll be editing this down to the audio version. What if we did this? I've been trying to figure out a break segment so that we go for a little bit, and then there's a little break, and then there's the final piece of these conversations. And I thought that what might be nice is 30-second things from member or campus ministries.
Oh, yeah.
Like 30 seconds of short questions where students are, just responding to them or something. Could you send me something like that so that we kind of tie it in with,
So like a couple questions?
Yep. So anything about the mission of your campus ministry, a big thing that just happened, and just closing kind of with, and we're such and such campus ministry, and you can find us at, on Instagram or our URL or something like that,
Yeah. Okay.
I'd put a little bit of music behind it and then just put it in the middle as a little break.
Cool.
So, if you're okay with that, I'll watch for something from you if you think you might be able to get it in the next few days.
Few days, I can. Yes. My
okay.
phone is over there charging.
Whenever you got it, that's good. I think I'll probably be working on a newsletter with Jim, and we'll either link to the edited video, and let the podcast audio stuff go up whenever it's ready.
Okay.
That's good. Cool. Thanks. If you have the capacity to leave your computer on for a minute, this program kind of uploads as we go, but also it might be telling you if it's 100% uploaded up at the top or something.
It's 93% uploading.
Okay, yeah. So if you can just leave that till it's done.
So it says 100. Okay.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Okay, so and what specifically do you want for that video again?
Oh, just kind of so you got 30 seconds to play with. Anything that is kind of engaging, audio engaging, like I'm thinking that we're probably going to be fine featuring the voices of campus ministers. So anytime we can open up a little platform for the voices of the students would be preferable.
Okay. Okay. So just kind of something they're thinking about.
Yeah, even if it's like, if you've got a person on the street kind of question that you think your students would do well with, and you just pose it to one or two or three or however many, that might be a fun way to do it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks. Okay, I'll let you go, and I'll send you links as they come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So leave the conversation, but leave the program on.
I'm gonna end the call. Your computer will do the uploading in the background, but just in case, if you can leave your computer kind of plugged in to the internet for a little while. That's all.
Perfect. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.